coming up this week on Digital Lifestyle Show 779. Richard here, and we've got lots to talk about. Talk about the new Xbox. We'll be talking about Windows mixed reality, some improvements coming to that, and Richard will be talking about his new VR headset as well. We'll be talking about ARM and Windows 10, Windows X. I've got an update on the Surface Duo. I've got a big update for it, update for it last week, and I want to talk about that as well, and plus lots of other stuff. So let's get straight to Richard. Richard, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ian. How are you?
Second time this afternoon, Richard. Good afternoon. We won't mention the faux pas about the recordings.
That's okay. It's the unending joy that is Microsoft Teams. Although in this case, it's an unending joy of the user of Microsoft Teams. There
might be some user error there. You could say that. Yeah, we've had a fantastic show. Great. Well, I'm glad you could join me for a second time, Richard. And we should say as well, if you hear any background noise, that is some work being done in your house, and it's not you being hit over the head with a hammer. Although it perhaps should be me that hit over the head with a
hammer. Yes, indeed. Yeah, there's some work happening in my house because me being the clever chap I am, I thought, you know what, I'll have some building works done in the middle of a pandemic, so I can't escape it. And yeah, it's been wonderful. It's an ongoing joy.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things you have to do. So we chatted before. I was asking you about your Quest 2 because I know you said you were ordering one, and see whether you actually got it.
Yeah. So it arrived a few weeks back actually, and it's a really nice bit of kit. It's a lot lighter than the Quest 1. I'd say that definitely smaller. Obviously, it's white, which I haven't noticed. I mean, people did worry that could attract dirt and things, but so far it seems fine actually. The screen resolution is obviously magnificent now. It's much better than the Quest 1. The screens are, I believe, they're about 1832 by 1920. They're high enough resolution that I'm not seeing the same level of screen dooring that I had with the Quest 1, definitely. And the sort of the jumped up mobile phone that runs behind the scenes, which I think is an XR2 Qualcomm Snapdragon, I believe, with about 6 gigs of RAM. That again also you notice the difference in the games. So it's a nice bit of kit. It's lighter. I would say it does feel perhaps slightly lower quality than the Quest 1, and you notice that, for example, with the head strap, which, while the device itself I think comes in at $299 or $399 depending on how much RAM or how much storage you want on it. Most people I think would benefit from buying the additional head strap, which adds I think about another £60 or so to the price, but that gives you an adjustable strap, which is just an order of magnitude more comfortable. And to be honest, yeah. I think they should have put it in the box really, and just simply charged a bit more, because it's a thing you're going to, unless you aren't aware of it, as soon as you are and you've tried one, you realise that this makes such a big difference. So that's a shame. But overall, yes, it's a nice bit of kit. It works well. I've not tried it tethered yet to a PC. I've only tried it untethered, which of course is how it should work. The other thing that's particularly interesting about it is it's got finger tracking now, which was in prototype form on the Quest 1. And on the Quest 2, if you've got an app that supports it, it actually works pretty well. It does seem to track where fingers are very impressively. So that's a useful feature. We'll see how many games or how many app makers actually support that functionality. But otherwise, yes, it's a good bit of kit. If you've not got one yet, good luck getting one for Christmas. Yeah.
And is there plenty of content, new games and applications coming out for it?
Oh, but there is some new content. I mean, it's obviously it's not in the same league as your Nintendos or PlayStations or Xbox in terms of new games. There's some there. Some games will just port across. So where you've been playing games, say on the Quest 1, or you bought it on Quest 1, may just work on Quest 2. Other games, not everything does though. So that's perhaps one note of caution. The other thing, of course, the big thing is you will need to link your Oculus account to a Facebook account to actually use it. Or if you've never used one before, you'll be creating an account with Facebook now. So that could well alarm some people.
Yeah, I think it's a nice device, and I know that the untethered thing is the way forward. I still using mine for driving games, and that's probably an edge case, but that's going to be probably less and less over time, and these devices will get better and better.
Yeah, for sure. And I know also they're selling quite well into enterprises as well, being used for training purposes. Yeah. And Yeah, so obviously it's was it the Oculus Go? I think the base model that disappeared a few months back. It's not as cheap as that was, which I think is a shame because I know certainly a large number of companies were looking at the price point. It's like, okay, what would you go for? Would you go for Go? That's 199 or even cheaper, or 139, or would you go for a Quest, which was a bit more expensive? The Quest price has now come down, but it's still not as cheap as Go was. So I know there's some unhappiness around that because most training purposes don't need all the bells and whistles of the Quest 2. They really need to be a little more than Google Cardboard, really.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about enterprise use of it, I watched. My wife was watching an American medical show called Resident.
Oh yeah.
And it was absolutely packed full of HoloLens too. The doctors were doing some heart brain operation, and all of them were wearing HoloLens with the virtual, with the virtual screen up, and they were doing all this swiping away, and it says powered by Microsoft AI and the big text on the virtual screens they were using. It was a proper. They used a lot of product placement with Microsoft stuff on that show. I've noticed they've all got Surface Pros and Surface Studios, but real prominent use of the HoloLens in that one.
So certainly Microsoft have sponsored a few things in their time, but the HoloLens, it is a great device actually. It's just it's still hellishly expensive, really.
Yeah, not designed for you and I at the moment.
No, not at all. Or even really, I mean, they keep saying, oh, yeah, it's aimed at enterprise and corporates, but you think, yeah, but you're paying $4,000 for that. That's a lot of money, really. And even if you amortize it out over, X months or years and make it part of an Office 365 subscription, it's still a lot of money. I mean, it's kind of been sold almost as like one more tool in the toolbox. You'd spend £1,000 on this sort of tool, therefore you'd spend this much on that tool. So I can see the argument, but equally, it's still hellishly expensive,
and it's too expensive to be to order it as in an enterprise and just order one, say, oh, let's get one of these, see what we can do with it. You just can't justify that. You've got to have a really good use case for it.
Well, Ian, I guess that's more your bag than mine.
Yeah. Talking to Microsoft's Windows Mixed Reality, did you see that they've announced a set of visual improvements that are coming to Windows Mixed Reality? If you've got one of the newer
headsets. They have indeed, but it's only the Reverbs and the Odyssey Pluses now. I think it's they've not done it for the older ones, which I think is a bit of a shame actually. But they are old, I suppose, so it's fair dues.
Yeah, so I'll just I've got the release notes up here on the screen from Microsoft, and it's all quite technical. Chromatic aberration correction is one of the things where they're talking about how they fix the when the colors get separated. And they've got new algorithms to improve that. Again, but you do need one of the Reverb G2s to do that. And Microsoft say they've worked with HP and Valve on that. And you can kind of see the examples. You get blue edges on things, and they've kind of got rid of that. The other one is light leak correction, which is something to do with the resolution of the panels being so high, and they don't get color matched. So you get light leakage, and they're working with that. You see the G2 is 2160 by 2160, so that's quite a high resolution panel.
Yeah.
And the example pictures there, just things look sharper, and there's no separated color. And the other one they mentioned is God rays. I hear about a lot of gamers with virtual VR headsets talking about God rays. I think that's sort of artifacts, isn't it, through the lens. It says the interesting thing I read on there, it says that the optic engineers at Valve did an amazing job producing the lens for the HP Reverb G2, which means it sounds like Valve did the optics for that, which is probably the most collaboration that we've seen with it's the first time we've seen that good example of that collaboration between Valve and HP, because Valve had their own VR kit for a while, didn't they?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
That was the HTC one, wasn't it? Was it made by HTC, the Vive?
Oh crikey, I can't. The Vive is HTC. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so they've done that. Also, they've made some improvements for the Samsung Odyssey Plus and the G1 as well, which they've included some of the settings on there as well. So it's good to see that they keep improving those. It's not a specific update, I don't think. I think it's more firmware that with the with the device. You're not going to see an update in with Windows Mixed Reality. Certainly, if you've not got one of the Lenovo's like I have, you won't see any changes on that. But I'm happy with mine. I just use mine for the simple things. In fact, I was trying Project Cars 2 with some rallycross cars and got motion sickness the other day, which I've not had motion sickness from playing VR for years, or since I first got it. So I don't know whether that means you need a higher frame rate or whatever, but normal racing never seems to bother me. But
well,
sideways didn't.
I must admit, I've been playing quite a lot of Sea of Thieves lately. I thought myself, I wish this was in VR. And I thought, actually, no, I'll be seasick in this if it was in VR.
Yeah. So moving on to some other things. Now, just as we're recording today, did you see that Adobe have announced some of their tools are now coming to ARM?
Yes, native ARM on Windows, isn't it?
Mm.
So this
is
some of the
and Mac as well.
Yes, I mean Mac. I'd expect it, and that's a whole other topic. But yes, native ARM on Windows that's a good thing, because obviously, as you know, on Windows and ARM machines like the Surface Pro X, apps run very well if they're native. Otherwise, they have to go through the the very clever, powerful Intel emulation layer, which has the power of reducing app speed to walking through treacle. So
yeah.
So I think this is really good. So as far as Windows is concerned, but obviously one does wonder how much it's been driven by the fact that these machines on Windows have been around for a long time now, and they've only just done it. Coincidentally, when the when the first ARM Macs have finally launched.
Yeah, I wondered whether coincidence or not.
That. Exactly. It does seem, when I think those who bought Windows on ARM machines have had to wait a long time for native support. I mean, even Office 2019 isn't fully native yet. It's you kind of, the Office 2019 perpetual license version of Office that runs under full Intel emulation on Windows machines. Whereas if you go down the Office 365, the Microsoft 365 route, then it will run. There are optimized bits in it for ARM, so it will be snappier. But it's still not a fully native experience, like say Edge is, or VS Code, which is, I think, a shame really. Whereas it seems companies, including Microsoft, seem to be quite quick to jump on the Apple Mac ARM bandwagon, because of course, as you know, a new insider build of Office 2019 dropped, running natively on Mac ARM.
Yeah, it's funny how they've often been accused of this in the past, Microsoft not supporting their own platforms, but they've been relatively slow to get their own stuff onto ARM, which they are getting there. I mean, but I think like Teams took whatever, it was like 6 months at least, wasn't it?
Oh, Teams, and I think Teams finally appeared. It's the last few weeks, and it didn't even appear with any particular fanfare. I don't think it just sort of leaked out there. So it's I mean, I'd like to know what's happening inside Microsoft, because you do wonder just how much support there is for the ARM tech, because they've done a great job with the emulation layer. It took them a long time to confirm that they were going to do 64-bit Intel though, which is a shame. And they just seem to be very laggardly in porting across their apps and things. You think it surely can't be that hard to point it at ARM and recompile. I mean, unless there's a whole load of dependencies, which there's no way Microsoft can do ARM versions of. It seems perverse almost that it should feel so unsupported.
I'm sure Gary will correct me if I'm wrong, but in Visual Studio, you just pick your platform, x86, ARM, and press compile.
Exactly.
Press build. That's all you have to do.
Yes. Yes, they do. Part of the problem is, of course, if you've got dependencies. I mean, Office is an interesting sort of outlier in that, of course, it does have lots of plugins and things which would also need to be compiled to be used. So I know that's one of the issues they have. And with Office 2019 on Mac, as it is now, that's going to go through that will go through the Rosetta 2 emulation layer. And Microsoft posted a support page about it last week, just saying, just so you know, all your plugins and things will still work, but it will be slower on the first startup, because the way it's going to do the translation the first time round. So at the moment, if you don't want the insider version of Office on Mac, you're going to have to go down the Intel emulation route. So I mean, I've not seen any real stats here, Ian, about how well or how speedy that Intel emulation is on the Mac. I mean, we've seen various meaningless figures saying it's 3.5 times faster, but faster than what? So, have you seen any meaningful stats yet on just
No,
how
I haven't seen
quick it
anything on
is?
that. No, no.
Yeah, it's very strange that.
Yeah, I wonder whether people that have got access to the code are under NDA, or whether they're just keeping that, not got the tools to do the performance testing.
Well, I guess in theory, the machine should be arriving with happy Mac users fairly soon, if not already.
Yeah, no, that's true. When's the actual hardware out?
I thought it was
pre-orders, I guess.
What's this week or next week?
Right. Okay.
Well, again, I stand to be corrected there. We can do the whole thing of man looks up thing on internet.
People can correct us via email to Gary Whittaker.
Exactly. Yes. Jason Coombs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's our guy. I have to check with Jason. I don't think he's ordered one.
No, it'll be it's a very interesting thing to see how Apple get on there, because Microsoft has now tried twice to do an ARM version of Windows. RT didn't really work at all. Although still love my Surface RT tablet. It was great, but it had huge compatibility problems. And then of course we've now got Windows on ARM, which again still has fairly major compatibility problems. Because it's 32-bit, it's 32-bit only. And one of the real problems you always have with anything like Windows-based is there will always be some grungy old driver or app that simply won't work. And Microsoft is obsessed with maintaining backward compatibility, whereas Apple don't seem to care so much about old gear and old apps.
I mean, they had enough difficulties getting the Vista driver model going, especially printer manufacturers switching over. So I think getting them to get moving the whole platform is enough. I think legacy thing does drag it down, and I hope now we're seeing Photoshop and other things running on ARM, and that will be a sign that we'll get some more applications out there. If Microsoft can commit to it with their own stuff, get people like Adobe on there, and then hopefully in the future we'll get it where it's a viable alternative to Intel, and it pushes Intel to work faster as well.
I can hope so. Yeah, I mean, as far as Windows on ARM is concerned, that's already into the Surface Pro X appears to be the only particularly speedy machine. I mean, Samsung did their ARM-based laptop as well, which again is pretty speedy. The one thing I did notice though, looking at the Apple spec, I was surprised to see I didn't see any kind of support for LTE or 4G or 3G or 5G or any built-in modem, which surprised me on an ARM-based machine, because kind of that always connected thing is one of the things. So, or did I just miss that?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see that. I haven't seen that as an option. So I don't know. That's kind of a thing. The connectivity options reserved for the iPads, I think.
Yeah, well, this is the other problem Apple's going to have with the ARM-based Macs is in the iPad. I mean, the tablet market has surged recently anyway. So the advent of lockdown and remote working has seen many more people buying tablets. So iPad sales have picked up after declining for quite some time. So I do wonder how much of an overlap there's going to be, because at some point they're going to want to have iOS and macOS apps all being the same from the same store. They'll be emerging, and you do wonder how that's going to work. Will you see the touchscreen of the iPad on the Mac? Will you perhaps see the LTE options of the iPad on the Mac? It would make sense to build a MacBook with connectivity options, I would have thought. Yeah,
I thought so. If you, by the way, talk about compatibility with Windows RT, I did notice on XDA developers, someone has got Windows 10 ARM 32-bit to run on the original Surface 1 RT. It's a bit of a hack job, though. But I can't imagine the performance is very good, but someone's got it working.
Excellent, that's good news. I saw I can't remember the guy on Twitter who was showing Windows 10 and the rotation working on his old Microsoft phone.
Oh yeah. That amazing actually. The Windows 10, the ARM version of Windows 10 works really well on that Lumia 950 XL. If you just get a few more drivers working on it, it would actually be almost usable.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost strange that they haven't done it yet.
Yeah. If only they had a phone to compete. Oh yeah, well they do, don't they now? But it's not. Unfortunately, it's running Android. It's a matter of time before someone works out how to put Windows 10 ARM on it, isn't it? Really, it's a matter of time now. Yeah, it is. I've got a couple of updates on the Duo. We got the November update for the Duo last week on Friday, and so I recorded a quick hands-on video with that. So the Microsoft are now doing monthly security patches, monthly updates for the Surface Duo, just as most vendors, well, not all, but Samsung I know do it as well, and Google do it with their devices, where you get the monthly Android fixes, security updates. But included in this month's one, there wasn't as many changes as there was in the October one, but there's quite a few performance fixes and touchscreen fixes and everything else. I've not found it particularly buggy with the UI, the user interface, or the launcher app. I know that prior to the October update, there was a lot of issues, and I got mine just as the update came out, so I didn't really experience one of those. But there have been some nice improvements with the November update, mainly around the detection of which mode you're using the camera in. So one of the things that I found a bit slow, I'll do it on the screen. I know you're not got the screen sharing, but you launch the camera on the Duo, and obviously it's a front-facing camera, so it goes into selfie mode straight away. But if you fold it around and turn it that way like that, it then flips it round, so the camera's still on there, but you're viewing it on this side. And the last update seemed to improve that quite a bit, that detection of which mode you're in, landscape, portrait, or whatever. So they've probably got a bit of some better algorithms for detecting the orientation when you flip it around. So I found the cameras quicker now, they're more responsive. The actual release notes say that they've improved the image quality of the camera, which we all know is not brilliant anyway. And I didn't see much difference, to be honest. It's not the camera to be taking indoor fast-moving shots with anyway. If you're outside, it's fine, and you can get a nice bright day. You can get some really nice shots with it, but it's not an indoor camera.
No, it's not. No, and it has to be said, when a phone costs that much, you do expect the camera to actually work well, really. And yeah, I'd say the camera's probably once you've got over the sheer size of the thing and the size of the bezels, I think the camera is probably its biggest weak point. I think.
Yeah. Interesting enough, though, I noticed I've been using it with some Teams calls, and it really shines on when you're using it for that. So you can see what it's designed for. And I think what it's missing really is that is a perfect front-facing camera to use for things like selfies and Teams calls, and it's just missing that higher quality rear-facing camera, which they just missed out on. So hopefully the V2 will have that. But I'm not. I'm not really. I do take the Note with me if I think I'm going to take some pictures with me, or take the SLR, the DSLR out with me. But for outside pictures, it's perfectly fine. But if I'm doing some videos, indoor video type stuff, then I would use one of the other phones. But so say the November update has proved pretty good so far for me. So no major issues. But we're getting these monthly updates now, which is good. I also found a good dock as well. Some people have asked me a cradle. What cradle I've been using in the car, because because of that wide screen. Even in single screen mode, it's wide. So I managed to find a good cradle. I use a Clotech one that I originally bought for the Galaxy Note 20, and it works perfectly. It's just wide enough, so it holds it quite nice with the bumpers in place. So if you do have one of those, then there's options for that. For the Duo as well. Right, so what else did we have to? Oh, we did have a bit of insider news, but not, I would say, the busiest week for testing Windows Insider builds.
He understated. Yes, this is a build 20257.
Yeah, 20257, and we're still on those.
I'm just making sure that the one's not come out in the last hour or so, which tends to always happen with us, doesn't it? Yeah, we'll do a show and then a build happens that same night. So yes. Yeah,
no build at the moment, and what was it, 20257? Yeah, it's still on that FE release branch, isn't it? So we're not getting new features in that branch.
Yes, I mean, there's not much there at all, really. I mean, the only thing I noticed really was the theming in the start menu was being tweaked, I think. So it wasn't going to adjust the background for any Win32 apps based on the contrast ratio. Although Edge PWAs would still work. So that was about it really. And then a whole bunch of fixes.
Yeah, there's a lot of fixes. But yeah, this is all under the hood, and this is really I just want to get off this branch now and get back to pre-release, because there's nothing exciting in this branch. We really are testing stuff that's not end user testing. It's more this is just quality testing of the core code, I would imagine.
Well, exactly. It's. I mean, I'm sure if Gary was here, he might better point out some under the hood changes, because I'm pretty sure things are happening under the hood, but of course they don't detail that in the notes, which is a real shame, because you think, well, I know it's changing. Things have definitely changed because there's a new version out. So perhaps you just told us everything that changed, and then we'd know where to go. Instead, you get this kind of curated list of fixes and changes they've done, but we know there must be more happening behind the scenes.
Yeah,
or isn't there? Or is that it? That can't be it, surely.
Yeah. Well, forever. That's it. We're just doing these. But I think I don't know how long we'll have this on. Maybe I'm hoping not much longer, but maybe it is until the new year. I think it was only a few weeks when we had this situation back in May. I think it was, wasn't it? After the May update came out, and I wonder whether this is going to be the basis for the next update, and we'll start to see some features being introduced in and out on the beta channel. Because the beta channel is still on the same build as the release preview, and which is almost the same. I think it's just a week difference now, isn't it, between beta release preview and production?
Yeah, that's right.
Because we keep getting these incremental updates.
And of course, beta is where we should start seeing what we'd expect to see in the finished build next May 2021. That's where that should start, because obviously the dev channel build, they say, is stuff in there may appear, may not appear. It's their playground almost. So, yeah.
I do know that the things that are like the toolbar, the emoji picker and the keyboard and all the nice things which we had, which have been taken away, are coming back. But I don't think they'll come back now until we get onto the pre-release build. So they are coming back soon, but how long is soon? We don't really know.
That's okay. They can keep the emoji picker. That's not a problem at all. I'm far too old for that kind of thing.
Yeah. But actually, with the new keyboard, is much better. I do kind of miss that, especially on the Surface Go, using it in tablet mode.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, I was going to show. I showed you before. Look at this. I've got a Dell XPS. We were talking about Dell machines before we started recording, and I've got a swollen battery.
I wouldn't say it's swollen. That's detonated. It's incredible. I mean, that's a good centimetre, half an inch or more off the keyboard.
It is, yeah. And I'm a bit very wary of disposing of it, really, because I don't think I can just put it in the bin. That's in for the recycling to come. But I mean, I can take it to.
Yeah, I mean, you could take it to an electronics recycling point at your local amenity tip. But I would suggest giving Dell a call and just saying, this has happened to my XPS. I know it's had a warranty, but I expect that it might be quite interesting to see what's happened there, because that's a heck of a fault, really. That, I mean, I've seen swollen batteries before, but not to that extent. Goodness me.
Yeah. So I thought it probably not a good idea to use it.
No. No.
So I've not plugged anything into it at all. It's run itself flat, and I'm not touching it and not using it at all, and being very careful with it. So that was the one I was using for my music production and some other bits and pieces. So I've had to move those across onto another device. So they're actually on my gaming machine now. But yeah, I'm not going to be touching that one. So yeah, I'll contact Dell and see. Actually, it was quite interesting. I set my when I moved all my music software over to my other machine, and it's still not easy moving stuff over from one system to another, because all these music applications, they all have their own weird copy protection systems on. I don't know if this is just the music software, or whether you get the same thing with video productions, or whatever your specialist applications are, but Steinberg the Cubase that I use for the recording, it's got a key lock, and it still uses a USB key lock that you download your license to. And I moved the USB over, and it would not read the license, so I had to get back onto Steinberg, try and get my license in, and went through the portal, and my license wasn't there, so I had to go back to the email and copy and paste license keys and the whole thing to get the license back down again. I eventually got it working as well. Korg was a bit easier. You can just go onto their website and sort of you do a relicense, and it drags the license down. But it seemed way overly complex when you do something, when you can just, with all these other things like we're using like Office 365 and everything else, where you just sign in with your account and things just work. And I know that it's expensive software and some of the music software, but it just seems to be way overly complicated for what it is. And just moving from one machine to another is way more complicated than it should be.
Yes, well, I can remember many years ago we had I used some OCR software which had a dongle as well, except it plugged into a parallel port. And then we had this situation. First of all, we couldn't buy any more servers that had parallel ports anymore, and then the company went bust as well. So we ended up having to pay a company to decode the dongle and create an emulator that would pretend to be a parallel port on a PC, and that was it was entertaining, to say the least. You say
yeah.
There must be a better way than that. But yes,
yeah.
I'm always suspicious of anything involving hardware dongles or license files that are locked to a particular vendor, because at some point things are going to change. Things always change.
Yeah, and so I got my Cubase. I did upgrade it to the latest version, which was actually I think the software that I've got sort of the basic version, which was I think 70 odd quid, and the upgrade from version 8 to 11 was 25 quid. So I've got the nice latest version on there, but some of the music software is actually really expensive. If you look at the software emulations of the synthesizer stuff, like I like the Korg stuff. You're talking £300-400 for a single license of an emulation of a synthesizer.
Yeah, well, I guess as you said, it's probably a small market, and they've got to sort of cover their costs somehow.
Yeah, but one of them was an emulation of a Korg Triton, and you could probably pick a Triton up off eBay for 400 quid anyway, and you've got the real thing with keys and everything else. So some of the older stuff is more expensive, but I like my keys with my synthesizer with dials and things on. The software ones are great, but you can't beat the real things. But yeah, I was surprised how expensive they all are, and I suppose it is that you're in a fairly narrow field. You're not talking broad licenses, but anyway, all set up and running now. The machine is not going on the Windows Insider program. It's being used for gaming and music, and that's all it's being used for. So it's quite a good guide. The gaming laptop is actually quite good for music production. It's I've got an external USB audio interface, so all working well on that. So I'm quite happy with that.
Brilliant.
Okay, what else do we have? Did you have anything you wanted to include for this week?
Well, I guess we've got did we touch on the arrivals of the Xboxes last week? I think they were going to appear, which is quite cool.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and the reviews thus far seem to be pretty positive, actually, of the Xboxes. I did see a hilarious tweet from Microsoft, because people kept putting up pictures of smoke coming out of their Xbox Series X's, and they look quite alarming. And so you see some of the blown up pictures, and Microsoft has said, "We can't believe we've got to say this, but please don't make smoke through your Xbox Series X."
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
so all the Xboxes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's wrong as well, isn't it? But I suppose this is the age we live in now, where social media, where they even have to verify what presidents are saying, never mind what people are doing for YouTube clicks. So so all the Xboxes made their way out. Yeah. So Jack son ordered one last week. I think I mentioned it. They came out on Tuesday, didn't they, last week?
Yeah.
But they didn't deliver his till Wednesday. They said there was a delay on his order, whatever. But so they gave him a £10 Amazon voucher because he ordered it through Amazon. So he wasn't too unhappy. And he set it up. What I was surprised was I've seen it obviously I've seen a few of the videos, but until you actually see it in person, how small the S is.
It's tiny. Yeah.
It's a really small thing. if the Duo Unfolded is about the same surface area as the Xbox S Series
And
S.
the thing
It's
is,
really tiny.
it's an incredibly powerful bit of kit as well, isn't it? I mean, the stuff it can do is
Yeah,
astonishing, really. If you see how small it is, and also it
I
costs
know.
what, $299. I think it's yeah, it's incredible, really. What they've done there.
Yeah, and first of all, because he was on about getting a bigger desk to fit it on, whatever, and then we unpacked it and set it up, and it was like, oh, it fits. It just fits behind his monitor. You just can't even see it. It's so small. So he was really impressed with that, and yeah, he's very much enjoying it. What he was saying is many of the S and X optimized games aren't available yet. They're still on the way. I think he was waiting for the FIFA one, which he said is December, and there was some other ones. So he said some of them he's been playing just the regular versions. What I think he found as well is he's eating up that SSD storage on the S. And
Yeah,
then
you will
if you
do.
want to expand that, it's really expensive if you go for one of those custom expansion units.
Yeah, they can come in. Is it blocks of terabytes? I'm not even sure. Can the
Yeah,
S even be expanded, or is it only the
yeah.
X? The S can.
No, it's
Go
got the
for it.
slot on the back. Yeah, but I think it's virtually the price of a new console to get
Yeah,
another 5 gig or 2 terabytes or something like that.
and of course we think a terabyte is a lot, and then you see how big some modern games are. Like Call of Duty is well over the 100. He's well over the 100 gig mark and getting bigger. So
Yeah,
it only takes two or three AAA games to actually fill a hard disk these days.
yeah, and he's got Game Pass as well, so you get you've got such a selection
Yeah,
that you've got to start thinking what you got in. Yeah, I think the USB drives are still supported, but they don't do the fast resume. But
yeah,
what I was really impressed with as he was giving me a tour of it is how fast it is. Just from the booting up to going through the menus, switching on a game, and then switching back to the menu and perhaps a different game, then back to your game again. Everything is instant. It's really a lot quicker than. Well, I've got the original day one edition of the Xbox One, but it's really fast.
yeah. I mean, they are very, very good. I mean, I've read a few people complaining about when they've arrived, they've not worked, but that does seem to be a small minority of people who are experiencing day one glitches. On the whole, it seems to be okay. And as you say, it's very, very quick. How noisy have you found it?
I couldn't hear it at all when he was demoing it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the iFixit teardown of the Series X, and an awful lot of the console was basically cooler. An awful lot of the console just, massive heat sinks, massive cooling systems, all about trying to keep the fan noise down and avoid the dread red ring of death that we know and love from the early days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's a well packaged little device. We were like opening the box, where is it all? And
Yeah, it's tiny.
it's
It's so small.
No power brick either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and that too, he just plugs in, and it just. I mean, I was sitting. I can't get over how small the Series S is. It's ridiculously small, and and the sheer amount of power inside it is just astonishing. And unless with a 4K TV, you're not going to need anything more powerful, are you? Really?
Yeah, and he's got the high res monitor that he uses in his gaming machine, so he's really looking forward. But he showed me some stuff. The frame rate never dropped on what he was playing. It looks really nice. I think if I was after a console for a bit of gaming, then yeah, it's a great option.
Yeah, I mean, I may get one next year. I think it's. I mean, I've looked at the PS5 as well. The PS5 does seem to be a bit of a behemoth in comparison, and the Game Pass is just very, very tempting because I use Game Pass on the PC, and it's brilliant because all the games I want are there. The problem is I'm having the same problem as your son is, where I've got to now start to curate what I've downloaded because I've got too much on my one terabyte PC SSD.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and the first day or the first evening after he set it up, he was just spent downloading games for it because
But of course, you also get there's a lot of backwards compatibility as well with older games, and while not all of them will necessarily be graphically enhanced, I think you can expect to see frame rates and things locked at a decent level now. Even if the game makers don't go back and re-engineer all the graphics, you'll see lots of bits of the games working better, I would have thought. So, which I think that's it was impressive with the Xbox One. I think now with the Xbox Series X, you're kind of seeing the the end point of that compatibility, because it's got a huge library that's going to work from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a brilliant machine, and I imagine there'll be a lot of those under the Christmas tree this year, and a lot of people. I think maybe we'll see some national dipping of speeds while people are downloading from Microsoft.
The broadband dip, yes. Although what I would say, obviously, anyone listening to this will know this already. If you have bought a PC or an Xbox or a PS5 or whatever as a Christmas gift, for goodness sake, open it and do the updates before you put it under the tree, because otherwise you'll have a very, very lengthy and tedious Christmas waiting for your broadband to catch up.
Yeah, he had an update. I think it was nearly a gig update after he unboxed it. I remember the Surface RT. I got my lads that when they were much younger, but they got the original Surface RT, and we had the 4 meg broadband, and to do 2 of the updates on Christmas Day, spent all day doing that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I decided to put a Sea of Thieves on one of my devices, and that's a 69 gig download at the moment. It took all day, just the whole day it took to do.
Yeah, it's amazing what we've got now.
A top tip there. Open up the boxes, make sure it works, and do all the updates and all the downloads ahead of time. Otherwise, you'll be very, very unpopular on Christmas Day.
Yeah, people watching download the screens on Christmas morning.
Yeah. Hey kids, it's time for the Queen's progress bar.
Yes, 2020 strikes again. Right, well, I think that's just about everything we've got for this week's show. It feels weird recording during the day. That's the reality. This year it's all different.
Yes. It's been a quiet week this week, isn't it? Really, there's not a dramatic amount happened this week. I'm still hopeful that we're going to see something about Windows 10X before the end of the year. You know, we've got a few weeks left. I'm hopeful.
Fingers crossed.
I'm hopeful.
You can get the new version of Edge for Windows 10X. They've published that.
I saw that. Who was that? Was that Rich Woods who saw it? I can't remember who saw it. And
yes,
it's
on the download page now.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's popped up there. Although I don't think you can download it, can you? To run it on the emulator.
I don't think you can launch it. I did go and have a look. I fired up the emulator and then I think I got as far as getting onto that screen, and then I never actually bothered to download it. So I didn't try, but I don't think it does work on that build. There's got to be a new build coming soon.
Well, there must be. I mean, yeah. I was actually quite relieved to see the Edge, the Win 10X Edge, which I guess may have been a bit of an error on someone's part to put it up there too early. But I thought, well, that means at least somewhere something's still happening.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Right. So, I think that's it for this week's show. So, Richard, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Richard_Speed.
Excellent. And you can find me at iSticks on Twitter. So thanks for listening or watching this week's show. We'll be back same time, same place next week. And hopefully we'll have Gary with us as well. So see you next week.
Cheerio.